The original Super Mario Bros. Was released just over 30 years ago on September 13, 1985, and its release and success heralded the modern era of gaming we all know. In all this time, competitors to Nintendo have come and gone, but the Mario series has remained, mostly due to the strength of its gameplay and its incredible accessibility. I've enjoyed this series ever since I could hold a controller, and my memories of playing and watching them have made me the gamer that I am today. The world of gaming with Mario at its helm was a world solely devoted to fun, and this is part of the reason why I never found it in my heart to forget about Mario, and neither have millions of others. With the release of Super Mario Maker to mark this anniversary, the series has seen its 18th platforming entry. You can consider this video both a retrospective on the series as a whole, as well as my review of Mario Maker, as my opinions on both are inextricably linked. Before it became the massive franchise we know now, there was really just one good game based on a character borrowed from Miyamoto's early arcade work. The original Super Mario Bros. Was a smash hit, and had been the highest selling game in the world for over 2 decades. There were many directions Nintendo could have taken the series at the time, but the Western release sequel that followed continued the NES trend of making its second installments branch far away from the gameplay of the first. Of course, we now know that that was only because Japan received a different sequel, one that, despite it keeping the same gameplay, suffered for poor design and being overly frustrating. With 3 different Mario games all going in completely different directions, the series' pop culture domination was not assured until 1990, with the release of Super Mario Bros. 3. The massive hype and anticipation surrounding this game firmly cemented Mario as the franchise that would define a Nintendo console. This game created a standard that would define not only the Mario series, but all new Nintendo IPs in general. Number 1, be meticulously designed. Number 2, embrace your creativity. And number 3, games should be fun and accessible for everybody. From this moment on, the series continued through several sequels, all of which were innovative and successful in their own ways. It's been amazing to see how each game has evolved the concept, while still remaining very much a Mario game. It is ironic then that the game series that was meant to be a return to form for Mario was the series that strayed the farthest away from these design concepts. Around the time gaming was getting into its second generation of 3D consoles, 2D gaming seemed to be all but forgotten. Even on the portable side, where 2D gaming was still alive, Nintendo only saw fit to release its older games, rather than go back to 2D and design a new experience. However, this was all until the Nintendo DS, where traditional Mario gameplay made its smashing return with 2006 New Super Mario Bros. After years of change and evolution, here was a Mario which played most similarly to Super Mario Bros. 3. Its visual design was taken from the series' 3D games, while the music was all new. There were some new ideas, but mostly this was a blast from the past with a new coat of paint, and it sold like gangbusters. It quickly became the top most sold Nintendo DS game, and is the second highest selling Mario game in the franchise. With this, however, a new series was born, one intentionally retro and backwards facing. It seemed like we would be seeing more interesting evolution of this format, just like we saw back in the 80s and 90s. Of course, that's not what we got. The next entry in this sub-series, New Super Mario Bros. Wii, mixed up some things by including some entertaining, or depending on how you see it, infuriating multiplayer. But it failed to innovate anything else, returning to the previous entry for the majority of its enemies, music, and even identical world themes. Next, New Super Mario Bros. 2 debuted on the Nintendo 3DS, but once again borrowed the same style, music, and themes. Then, New Super Mario Bros. U, which borrowed, well, you get the picture. Ironically, the series that had defined 2D platforming had become defined by it. In a holding pattern, the series for me and many others moved from being must-play event releases to a boring expectation. I still played them all, eventually, and while I have to admit I enjoyed most of them, the magic had finally been lost. So how could Nintendo escape from this monotony and attempt to earn a bit of that magic back? It would seem they have decided not to try, and instead hand over the entire bag of tricks itself. And it's incredible. Discounting the Galaxy games, Super Mario Maker shows more creativity than the series has shown in the past 9 years, and I'm absolutely in love with this game. The simple joy of building a level reaches back to those Nintendo fundamentals from Mario 3. The UI is extremely well designed, remarkably creative and wacky, yet simple enough that hardly any instruction is necessary for newcomers. This is all on top of the new mechanics they've implemented that make playing the levels themselves feel less like retreading old gameplay rather than playing a new innovative entry in the series. Not to mention Nintendo retrofitting more recent Mario baddies into prior game skins is like a nostalgia sundae. This is easily the most fun I've had playing 2D Mario since I was booting up my own SNES in my room as a child. However, I have one question for all my viewers. Where can 2D Mario possibly go from here? The Wii U is in dire straits, and it's been like that for a while. When the last 2D Mario failed to move more consoles, I have no doubt that Nintendo decided they needed to reinvigorate the series with this new direction. However, With Mario creation now in the hands of every player, the cat is pretty much out of the bag. While there are some glaring omissions in the creation tools, I would think it rather unlikely for Nintendo to take these missing pieces to try to create something new with them, rather than making them eventually available in the Maker through DLC. To put it another way, when the magician reveals how his tricks work, they'll never work the same way twice. I think Nintendo may be releasing this game on this historic anniversary as a way to close the book on this era forever. If that's the case, then I call this my eulogy for the Super Mario Bros. I've known all my life. It's been one hell of a ride.